Okay, we are starting our unit on transformational geometry, and there's a lot of vocabulary, so that's what we're going to start out with. We are going to start with translations. So let's take the big word. The big over topic, okay, is a transformation. And a transformation is a change in the location, orientation, or size of a figure. Let's talk about orientation, okay, because that is something that you may not understand what we mean by that word. Orientation is how something appears or how it's orientated. The easiest way for me to describe this is to show you an example. If I have the letter R, okay, that is an orientation of the letter R. I could give you a different orientation, which would be a mirror reflection of it. A reflection, it changes the orientation or how something visually looks to you. That is what orientation means. Location, and we're talking about all of this on a coordinate plane. So the location is just, it changes where it is on the coordinate plane. And the size is, that changes the size. Smaller to bigger, bigger to smaller. So these are all what a transformation does. All right. There are several transformations that we are going to learn about. The first one is a translation. All right. And a translation, I know you've been familiar with. Do you remember what the SL means right here? Because I know you have learned them before. The SL is going to be your little key for a translation is a transformation which slides each point of a figure the same distance and in the same direction. So in other words, when you do a translation, your location changes, but the size and orientation stays the same. Okay, and that's going to become very, very important. The resulting figure after a transformation is called the image. And all this vocabulary is very, very important of the original figure. Okay, so if we talk about the image, we're talking about the new figure after it has been transformed. All right, some more stuff we need to learn. Let me read this to you, because you need to understand the verbiage. This means triangle ABC is translated 1 unit to the right, so that would be your X, okay, because it's going to the right, and 4 units up, so that is on your Y, isn't it? Because on an axis we have left and right is on the X, and up and down is on the Y, okay? Draw the image of triangle, here we go, we have these little tiny apostrophes, and those make it say A prime, B prime, C prime. So when you see that apostrophe, you say the word prime, which means it is the new image. Okay? So I'm going to say this again without stopping. Triangle ABC is translated 1 unit to the right and 4 units up. Draw the image triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay? So they've given us a figure already on here. It has A, B, and C. Okay? They've already given us the points, the coordinate points, and remember this is your X, this is your Y, of A, B, and C. And what they've asked us to do is 1 unit, and I'm going to ask you to do this every time, 1 unit and put an arrow to the right, and 4 units up. 4 units up. Okay, so I'm going to put a 4 and an arrow up. And I'm going to do this for a reason, because they're not always going to give you them in the same order. And in 8th grade, it's about reading algebraic rules, all right, for transformations. So you're going to have to make sure that you know what these all mean. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to draw our new image. Okay, so it said we take A, which is at -5, 2, and we are going to move it 1 unit to the right and 4 units up. So I'm going to move over 1, and I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you have to label these, and how I'm going to label it is A prime, okay, because it's my new image. Okay, this is the original, all right. So then I'm going to take B, the same thing, and I'm going to move it 1 to the right and 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I have B prime. Then I'm going to do the same thing with C. 1 to the right and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 up. And I have C prime. Then I'm going to draw my image. And as you will see, the orientation or how the image looks is the same. The C is on the bottom, the A and A prime are on the left, the B and B prime are on the right. This is my original, this is my new. That's why we have these apostrophes here, because they mean prime. So this is where it's critical. In 8th grade, as a general rule, this translation could be written as, and you need to understand what this says, okay? For every XY pair in this figure, arrow notation, which means you move it. X is moved how many times? 1 time, and we went right, which is plus. Then the Y is moved up 4 times, which is plus. So this says for every XY coordinate pair, you are going to translate it by moving it X plus 1, Y plus 4. Okay, that is known as arrow notation. It also can be known as a general rule. Sometimes they call it an algebraic rule. And in questions, they will use all those terms. So you need to know that those terms are interchangeable. All right? It says here, tell me more about this figure. Is it congruent or similar? Now, do you remember what congruent is? Those two words are very close, but they're not quite the same. Congruent, I hope you remember. Same, what? Size, same shape. Okay? It doesn't say same orientation, it just says same shape. Okay? So same size, same shape. The word similar means same shape. There again, not necessarily the same orientation, but it is a different size. So now we've defined those two words also, congruent and similar, and this is going to become very, very important. So tell me, on these two figures, are they congruent or similar? And it says explain why. Do you know? Well, they are congruent. Why? Because they are the same size, same shape. And yes, I'm going to expect you to write that every time. When I ask you what's congruent, I want you to be able to tell me same size, same shape. Okay? So when you are writing a general rule or an arrow notation rule or algebraic rule, you need to know how you are going to show the movements. For your x-coordinate, if you are moving right, which is your x-coordinate is always your horizontal movement. Horizontal movement. Okay? It's going right or left. It's like the horizon when you look at the horizon. Okay? So right for your x-coordinate, you do x plus. It doesn't mean x has to be positive. It just means that you move to the right. So plus is to the right. If you are moving left, what do you think that would be? X minus. And it doesn't mean that you are subtracting. It just means minus. Okay? So this means to the left and this is to the right. Well, if the x-coordinate is horizontal, that only leaves us vertical, which is what your y-axis is. It is a vertical axis. So if you're going up, what is it going to be? Y what? Plus. Okay? If you're going down, what is it going to be? Y minus. And this number here, it's going to be some number. Some number is going to go after that plus or minus sign. That's how many times you are going to move. All right? So let's do a couple little practices on the back. All right? It says, use arrow notation to write the rule that describes the translation shown on the graphs. Okay? First off, you have to identify which one is new and which one is old. All right? So I noticed that these have the prime sign. What did that mean? New or old? Yep, new. So I'm going to put an N in here, and I'm going to put an O for old. And I want you to do that every single time. I don't care how smart you think you are. Okay? Now, I can choose any one of these because it's a translation. We've just slid this from here. We've slid it, it looks like over and down if we wanted to. So I can use A, B, or C, any one of them to count how far I moved them over. I personally, I'm going to use A. Okay, so because you know my name starts with an A, April, right? So here we go. We're going to start here and I'm going to count how many times I go to the left or right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it's easier to do it the other way and go from here to here, but you still have to make sure that you are keeping which way the original went to the new. So that's why I always say start with the original. So I know I'm moving left to get to my A prime. So I'm already going to put my arrow that way. Now I'm going to just figure out how many times I'm going to move. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to get to here, aren't I? So it's 4 to the left. Once I get here, I know I'm moving down. So I'm going to put an arrow down. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So down 4. So I'm to the left 4 and down 4. I'm going to write my rule. Remember, for every X and Y coordinate pair, arrow notation, I'm going to move my X value to the left. Now, what was that? I'm sorry, you didn't even see what I was doing. What was that when I moved it to the left? I moved it 1, 2, 3, 4 times to the left. Well, if you didn't remember, you could go back over here. Moving to the left is a minus sign, and I moved it 4 times, comma. And where did I move it? I moved it from here down, 1, 2, 3, 4, so Y, and down is a subtract 4. All right, let's look at the next one. Here we go. It looks like I'm going from here. I'm going to do F to F prime. So I'm moving from F to F prime, which means I am going to the right. All right, because this is my old or original, this is my new. Make sure you are documenting those on your figures. So I'm moving 1, 2, 3, 4 times to the right. And then, ooh, did I move up or down? No, I didn't move my y value anywhere. So let's write our rule. X, Y, arrow notation. I'm going to move X, and what was to the right? Is it plus or minus? Yep, it's plus 4. And then I'm just going to write my y. I'm not going to put plus or minus 0 because I didn't move it at all. So I'm just leaving the y alone. Okay? All right, here we go. This says, use arrow notation to write the rule for the given translation. So I'm going to do arrow notation, and we're going to write our rule, and then we are going to go and we are going to move it. So I always write like this. It says down 5 to the right 2. Now, do you notice that they gave you your y first, then your left? And that's why I always write it with my arrows, because now I remember that horizontal is my x and vertical is my y. So I know that I need x, and it's to the right 2. So I've got plus 2. And this was down 5, so y minus 5, and I have written my rule. Okay, but you have to be very careful because they flip-flop those all the time. So now it's just a matter of coming over here. I'm going to take my points. I'll take my L, and it says I'm to move to the right 2, 1, 2, and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here is my L prime. Then I'm going to move my M, and I'm going to go right 1, 2, and then I'm going to be going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's my M prime. Okay, I'm going to do K first. I'm going to go right 1, 2, and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my K prime. And then I'm going to go right 1, 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've got J prime. I'm going to draw my figure. It should look pretty much like the one that's up there. It might look just slightly different because my lines might not be as straight. This was my original. This is my new. Make sure you're using those primes on there, okay? All right, last type of question we could get. It says write a description of the rule x, y, my coordinate pair, arrow notation, x minus 7, y plus 4. So if I've forgotten, what does minus 7 mean for x? Well, you could always go back, flip your page. It says when you subtract with x, you're moving to the left. So I'm going to say this, left 7, and then I could come back here and look for here, and it says when I'm y plus, I'm going up. So I've got up 4. So I'm moving to the left 7 and up 4. Translation, 7 units to the left. Well, this one says 7 units to the right, so I know that's not right. 7 units to the left, that works, but it says 4 down, so that doesn't work. Next one, translate 7 units to the right. Nope, that's not going to work. 7 units to the left and 4 units up. There we go, and my answer is D. All right, you have what's called a quick practice today, so it shouldn't take you very long, and go ahead and finish that. We're here to help you if you need help. Make sure you turn it in. It is a grade.